to another episode of Nerding Out, Geeking Out. I'm Luke.
I'm Gresham.
And I'm James.
So, welcome back, everyone. I think we've got some announcement to make.
We made it to episode 5!
Yeah! Cheers, everyone! Cheers!
Chin chin. Now, the reason why that is a bit of a milestone is because 90% of podcasts do not make it past episode 3.
That's impressive.
So, well done, lads.
Yeah.
Well done, lads.
We've made it.
We've done something to our...
We can chat shit long enough to manage for 3 whole episodes and a bit.
bonkers.
Amazing.
Just enough time.
The next milestone for our viewers will be past episode 20, because that's when the other 90% of everybody else remaining gives up after the 20th episode. So if we don't make it there, you'll know why.
Yeah, we're just part of an enigma of an average. So, I've also got to say, make sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and please fill in the poll below on Spotify. I still haven't checked whether it actually goes on to the other medias, but if it does, please fill it in. We would love to know. We have a single apology from Gresham this time.
Indeed. It was during our Warhammer segment, I believe.
Our?
My Warhammer segment.
There you go. You got an exact
Yes.
canon.
I happen to mention that Horus's advisor, or one of the main characters that led Horus down the journey of chaos. His name started with a D. No, it was an E.
There's only one big D around this table.
Yeah, me. It was Erebus. So apologies to all the Warhammer 40k fans out there.
Sorry, we didn't pick it up either.
I will get better. John is probably crying somewhere.
And that's it from this episode from Apologies from Gresham.
Yes, that was a nice and easy one for us.
Indeed. It's quite nice.
I think you're also leading our first chat. So you might have noticed we've got some aeroplanes.
Whoop whoop.
This plane was trying to be the largest plane, but it wasn't quite. So they put this little nose cone on the front, and some of them even have a sticky out thing. So it'd be the longest plane.
Is this one we have to
Just. Yeah. If you didn't hear that was the other two of us slapping our heads.
I don't know what you mean.
This is one of Luke's favourite games to play when we're anything to do with planes, any air shows.
That's why they got the sticky out bits.
Well, to be fair, it's not even planes. He does it with tanks as well.
Yes, he does it with tanks.
That's
cars.
true. Did you know?
Did you know?
Me going around the tank museum down in Bovington.
This used to be.
Every tank.
He's very easily entertained, which is positive.
I love it when, like, at some places, I'm saying RIAT, yeah, they did. The kids looked at me like, what are you talking about? But sometimes the kids look at you like, huh, I didn't know that. And I'm just like, ha, sucker.
He's just out there spreading misinformation. This is just a massive misinformation campaign.
That's what I do.
He'll drink to that.
Oh, dear. So, effectively, what I wanted to jump into was there's some pretty amazing engineering news that happened recently in the world of aircraft.
Did they get longer?
To be fair, it's quite a long aircraft. I will give you that. This is coming from a company called Boom Supersonic. Great name.
Boom, boom, boom. I want you in my room.
Yeah, they achieved so they got their prototype called XB1 up for their first flight, and they managed to hit supersonic speeds. So post Mach 1, they actually hit Mach 1.122. Now we know that the last commercial plane to do that was Concorde.
I know that.
Yep.
Yeah, I know knowledge.
Yep, you do.
Yeah.
And Luke, what would you say happened to it?
It tried to become the longest plane. It stretched.
No,
And
they
started to pull apart
why
itself.
they were forced to retire it.
Because it stretched. It got longer.
No,
Before it did.
Well,
I mean, to be fair, some of the planes that do fly at super speed, we should say.
I thought it basically melted itself and got longer.
No, that's the.
no.
Is that a Blackbird?
You're thinking of the SL-71 and the Blackbird especially, and the B2.
See, I don't know shit.
He's
just here for the cool guns.
For anyone who's asking questions regarding what he means, he's referring to the phenomenon of some of the older aircraft. I'm thinking of the F-117 and a couple older planes that flew so high because they were dealing with such tremendous temperatures. Effectively, each of their panels had so much thermal expansion that when they landed, the panels had to be smaller.
Well, they did that for the Blackbird when they originally.
Yes, they did do that for the Blackbird. Yes, yeah.
I believe that's the one made out of titanium.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember a story where they had to purposely make the panels smaller.
Yep.
And I don't know if this is true. The rumor was that even like the fuel leaked slightly.
Yep. No. This is true.
When it was on the tarmac, so that when it went up to altitude and up to speed, after everything expanded, it actually created a seal. So everything was properly.
You are wrong. I am right. I knew that I'd learnt something from the Fleet Air Arm Museum.
Oh yeah.
For our viewers,
Concorde
Luke
did
is
slightly
laughing.
lengthen during flight due to the heating of its airframe
Of
whilst
course.
flying at supersonic speed. I knew it! You see, you don't think I know anything about planes, but I do. I've been to Fleet Air Arm Museum at least 6 times.
In
So
defense for Luke.
yes, this is something that any aircraft will go
trying to be the
through.
longest plane.
He was not trying to be the
He
longest
was.
plane. This is just physics.
In Luke's defense,
Yeah.
there is one plane that they did have to make longer. Well, it's not really a plane. The one that NASA was, I believe, was developing to create a silent supersonic plane.
Yes, this would be.
It did have to be very, very, very long, and they had to make it longer so that it was the way it travelled through the sound barrier. It didn't create as a larger sonic.
Funnily enough, this was something I was actually going to go through. Hello.
I've got a statistic for you, though.
Oh,
Hit me with it.
How long do you think it extended over its life?
Over its life,
it's over
or
its
during its flight? When it went up-
1.2
went up-
meters.
Are you talking percentage-wise?
During flight, it says.
During flight, I can imagine it grew by 3-4%.
I
You
guess.
just give me a number in inches.
I
In
guessed at
inches.
1.5 meters over its life.
4%. I mean, it was a very long plane, so if each panel was growing by
Doing math.
uh,
Please insert the
45
loading.
inches.
It's 6 to 10 inches.
6 to 10 inches.
You got
okay.
quite long. So I had to say.
So it did become the longest.
No.
Sorry, I had to help Luke there with
Yeah,
his
no, it's
longest
fine.
plane
It's fine.
It's the longest
addiction.
plane. It was the longest plane at one point, wasn't it?
The Concorde. Huh?
I'm going to Google that now. I reckon that I might actually be on
Oh. Concorde, I could see being one of the longest.
It might be
was
the
pretty-
longest for
pretty long.
its capacity
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have a large amount. It couldn't carry a large amount of people.
Yes, I'm double right. The Concorde was nearly 204 feet long, making it one of the longest planes of its time.
One of yes.
But after it extended, after its life, maybe it was. It was
that-
trying really hard.
Was that whilst it was up in the air? Yeah. It was the longest.
Yeah.
Mm.
It overtook all the others. And then it shrunk again when it landed. As did the people.
Oh,
You,
God.
you turn up size Danny DeVito and you come back, you're like size Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Anyway,
Anyways, moving on. So,
from our stupidity.
boom, supersonic. Now, what have they achieved? They've achieved something that I feel like every company has been out there trying to find a solution to getting us back to supersonic commercial flight. I mean, do you want to give any reasons as to why Concorde ended up being taken offline? Primarily,
I mean, I thought it was down to the expense and the maintenance.
it was expense, maintenance, and a lot of the noise issues. So the supersonic
Oh,
boom
yeah.
was causing a lot of issues.
The bang, bang, bang you hear when they go real fast.
Would it be like I believe there was a town or a place on the coast of England where it
and even close to
yeah.
Paris.
was it close to
Yeah, no, both. Because because Concorde was developed as a joint venture between Britain and France, and because Air France and what's it called? British Airways were both state-owned, they had to have Concordes. So there was only 20 Concordes built, and they were all owned by the two of them. But yes, they kept running into these issues. So even though it could sustain, it could take you from London to America in record times, there was still the issues of people's windows being smashed. There was actual structural damage done to certain houses, and obviously all of these led to court cases, leads to British Airways or Air France having to pay out. And then new rules got brought in, which meant that some of the aircraft actually had to take longer journeys, effectively, or go slightly out of the way to make sure they slowed down to land whilst not producing supersonic booms, which was fair. Yeah. So
don't want to smash window, otherwise you get sucked out, right? Does that not happen?
In the plane, yes, of course, yeah.
Exactly. So it is a genuine. Don't you cite me again?
Yeah, no, but the supersonic boom isn't gonna affect the windows of the Concorde. It's gonna affect houses below.
Oh, just the houses.
Houses and cars, yes, because the Concorde, believe it or not, was designed to handle it.
Well, it wasn't, because it grew over 10 inches. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. So
I swear, come on, the window pane should be. That tolerance, surely the windows would have fallen out almost at that point, right?
No, they would have taken it into consideration, because you have to remember
with really big bolts.
Big bolts. I mean, at the time, we'd already been working on so many other planes, so many spy planes, so we knew enough about the properties of all the different materials we were using, and thermal expansion was a well-known aspect of that. So
yeah, very true.
At the same time of Concorde, Boeing was producing its own supersonic. Well, is it hypersonic?
I think it was supersonic at the time. Hypersonic is post Mach 5, if I could please get that fact checked.
Oh no, it says here. Sorry, supersonic.
Supersonic.
I should actually read. And I do believe from watching, it was a video or something on YouTube that
on the YouTube
on the internet this week I found this.
Their program was very expensive as well.
Oh,
and they spent
insanely expensive.
I believe they spent a large part of their budget on a wood facsimile model, a life-size model of what the plane would be, and then they cancelled the project.
Nice.
I'll have to double check on that, but I do believe that was one of the.
That doesn't sound, because once Concorde was being worked on, you had multiple. I'm pretty sure the Russians were working on one. The Americans obviously wanted to work on one as well.
Yeah.
But it had sadly quite a short lifespan of I think 27 years. I believe Concorde lasted for before it was taken offline back in 2003.
That does actually ring a bell, so I think you're right there.
Yeah, there were other reasons that I mean, obviously Concorde was dealing with issues, but especially after the tragic events of 9/11, in general, the airfare industry was affected so badly, and yeah, the expense of Concorde, each flight, the amount of fuel that was being used, along with the maintenance. It was just too much for both of those companies to keep going. So
there was also a crash.
Yes, there was a crash. There was which
Air France
in 2000. Yes.
No, I actually think I remember that.
Yep.
So, but still, I think I do.
It was all crew and passengers, I believe.
Yeah. As a little shout out though, if you want to see a Concorde and walk through it, go to Fleet Air Arm Museum down in Yeovil, which is amazing, worth visiting. And they have a Concorde there. All the time.
There's a couple. I went to one down South London, and you could walk in and fully experience.
They're just like museum exhibits now.
Yeah. Well,
I
mean,
the height of aviation engineering for the public sector. Come and see it.
Yeah. There is apparently. I don't know if Air France is still doing it, but for the longest time, Air France have held on to one of their Concordes, and somewhat maintained it in the sense of still running fluids through it,
Okay.
still maintain. And the only reason was just in case if the rules and regulations changed ever, the amount of money they'd pull in.
Yeah, they would.
To do maybe even one.
There'd be a bidding war for that.
There would be a bidding war that would enter the millions. But I think, I'm sure after some point they would have given up on it because it's so much money to maintain such old technology.
Yeah, it really is.
And then normally maintaining old technology utilizes tools that are also old, which you also need to maintain.
Yeah.
So you kind of get stuck.
Oh my god, I wonder if it runs on C and D cell batteries somewhere in there.
Would not be surprised.
Like all of the cabin equipment is still like.
I can kind of see that. I would not be surprised.
That would be hilarious. Just VHS player on each. I wonder if they had that. Because they have DVD players in some of them now, don't they? In the new ones.
They have
and
DVD
got and
players?
streamers.
Actually, just on that, you were on about the crash about the Concorde. It had a perfect safety run up until that, as every plane is up until that point.
Yep, of course.
But it wasn't actually down to anything wrong with the Concorde from reading this. It was down to debris on the runway.
And to be
which
fair,
hit the fuel tank and obviously caused the issue, and it may not be considered not its fault, but unfortunately it happened.
Did it happen in France?
I do.
Or on the English side? Because I think it was the France to England one, wasn't it?
It might be in America.
From 2000. This is a long time ago.
Very long time ago.
I can find that.
Please hold.
Holding.
Musical interlude. Do 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 ba ba do 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 do.
I could just continue.
Yeah, you just carry
on. So what Boom Supersonic have achieved effectively is a plane that's capable of going supersonic. This is part of their test aircraft before they start creating the commercial airliner version.
Okay.
Now, how they get around the supersonic boom problem is actually quite interesting. They use physics, believe it or not.
Science.
Effectively, it uses a system where the plane flies obviously at a certain altitude, and based on that altitude, it takes a measurement of all the atmospheric conditions there are, and right above ground level, there's effectively a thermal layer. Now, that thermal layer, depending on what the conditions are, can be used to refract the actual supersonic boom. So that's what's happening. So based on the altitude of the aircraft to the ground, it'll cap its speed. So if you're below a certain point, it's gonna the computer system is effectively gonna be like, no, you cannot go supersonic. You cannot go above Mach 1 because the boom itself is going to make it to the ground.
Right.
But above a certain altitude, it will be fine. So to a certain extent, it does translate. I'm flying so high that the sound won't cause issues. But where the intricacies of the system comes in is when it starts descending down to a certain height. It basically figures out if you can still get away with traveling at supersonic speeds or not.
So it's a high flyer. It's a high flyer.
Of course.
Okay.
Supersonic aircraft are always going to have to be high flyers.
Does it state like how far? Is there a set point, like range, it's going to work within? Or is it determined on temperature and atmospheric conditions?
It was separate heights that it has different speeds, like you said.
Yeah.
So it's just the.
Wait, but you're asking.
So if you want to go to the boom point, what height is it?
Oh, so that all depends on conditions of the day.
Okay.
So that depends on your temperature, your pressure, your wind speed. All of that's going to be taken in.
So in theory, you could use Concorde if you had a way of knowing all that.
Yes, and but the issue is Concorde is obviously built on old tech. But the other issue is that they've fixed is fuel usage. They've actually they found an alternate fuel And they've actually created their own engines. So most people will be using General Dynamics engines or Boeing, Rolls-Royce. Those are your big,
Bombardier. Do they do engines?
No.
Don't think Bombardier do.
Oh, they do the
engines.
outer skins.
Yeah. Well, they do
And
the
the
jets.
engines.
Yeah, they do.
And they throw the chickens into the jets.
I think a lot of the larger aircraft use Rolls-Royce engines.
Yes.
Yes.
But effectively, Boom had approached them back in 2016, and the cost was just too immense. It was too risky, so they chose to say no. But this is a successful test. But this is where this leads into what NASA's doing. So NASA's got their experimental program where they try out new technologies, and they've got their aircraft that's trying to go supersonic, but deal with a supersonic problem called X-59.
Okay.
They're solving it a different way. So they're trying to soften / get rid of the supersonic boom. So keep the aircraft capable of flying relatively low, whilst keeping the boom, like keeping the supersonic boom out of the question.
Right. Okay.
And this is where if you ever see any images of the aircraft, we'll definitely be posting up a picture of it up on the screen.
You can swip to video now
Yes.
on Spotify and everything else. Just so you know, this is now an Oda's video. So if you listen to audio, take your phone out and have a look.
So compare it to what Boom have done versus Concorde versus the X-59. You'll notice the other two are pretty conventional. They have a cockpit. The pilot can actually see where they're flying. X-59, no. The pilot is tucked in, having to use a heads-up display.
Wow.
Because the plane is so long and so drug out, so that in terms of surfaces for supersonic booms to occur at, it basically occurs at any sharp angles, effectively.
Right. Okay.
Across the plane, it's so smooth that
It's like a bullet.
Exactly. But how they've also designed it is so that where the booms do happen, they don't converge. Okay.
You child.
You
Said
child.
cockpit
Stop.
first, and then booms that do happen. I just can't keep it in.
Where in the past supersonic booms have been known to constructively interfere to produce a larger boom.
Let's see where we go.
Yep. They've designed it in a way where it can minimize that by actually forcing the booms to destructively interfere. So you only get a thump. So they've
Wait.
Yep.
Tail back a bit. What do you mean destructively interfere?
So the booms will be interfering with each other out of phase. Perfectly
so
out of
booms.
phase.
It's generating two booms on purpose to interfere with each other.
Yep.
So that nothing
So
happens.
if you ever look at an aircraft, I will also put a picture of this, going past the speed of sound, you'll actually see where...
It's like a physical
bang.
bang.
It's a physical bang, but you'll actually see the waves at which you're getting supersonic... you're getting booms effectively being created, which is at, like I said, where those angles are just so extreme... That's where you're getting this massive...
Is it where the air is being compressed
Yes.
to the point where obviously it goes faster than
So
the speed of
they've
sound?
designed it in a way where they have certain features that allow certain booms to converge with other ones destructively. Which means, and they've got a claim of, I believe, 75 decibels on the ground.
75 decibels? That's nothing.
That's nothing.
There's a boy racer that goes past that's louder than that. At freaking 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. No,
And it's not even you. Razzing the Fiesta.
It doesn't get razzed that bad, does it? It's not too bad. But X-59 they have done a test flight, but they flew subsonic, so under Mach 1.
Okay.
But I believe later this year
I thought I watched the video of the boom. Is that what
No, you just dreamt it.
So Boom Supersonic's already done theirs. They've already hit post. I think they've hit Mach 1.1, but X-59 is still yet to go up to that point. But that will happen later this year. But it's quite interesting.
So if you were to give like a first, second, third to these companies, which one's first at the moment?
Now, I like NASA's approach because it's actually got a solution to the problem.
Okay.
But the issue is their solution is effectively elongate the plane to make it the most aerodynamic surface.
There is like a video out there that I did.
Are you trying to say they're trying to be the longest plane?
Yes, kind of.
Find that. If you watch the video, I will try and find the link on YouTube.
Nice.
It goes into detail of like, how big would the actual plane
have to be
for it to be commercially viable
based on NASA's approach.
Is it like a mile?
It's pretty long.
It's ridiculous. It's like I can't remember exactly how long it's going to be, but I
If
don't
you
think it would
lots
ring.
of scientists into a
Yeah.
room and say, "What if you could? Not if you should."
It was like I don't think it would actually be able to safely take off. It was that long. Like it,
Nice.
when you compare that, and also the prices of the tickets would be ridiculous because only a few people would be able to.
Oh yeah,
get on there.
we're talking like maximum, 100 to maximum 200 passengers.
Well, on this one, it wouldn't. I think it would. The actual design is the NASA one, especially.
Yes.
Has to be. They'd end up having to be like in a single row.
How long is a flight from, like, let's say US to here on something like that?
Which coast?
The New York one. I think.
Let's say the furthest coast.
I was going to say a majority of the flights that they like to do is London to New York.
Yeah, what's London to New York? Let's look that one up. Because my thought process here is, if it's like 2 hours, that's just an annoying amount of time to be on a plane.
The distance is 3,459 miles. Distance from London to New York. That obviously doesn't.
Okay, we've got miles. Can we translate that into thing? Because my thought is there must be, like, for a normal person, there's a user perception here of annoying distance time. Then there's nappable distance time and sleep distance time. The sleep one you actually don't notice. The nappable ones maybe the peaking on starting to annoy, and then it's just long enough that you kind of have to sit there for the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm of course ignoring things like in-house entertainment and stuff. But say you're like someone that hates getting on planes, you just want to go to sleep, basically. Like, there must be like an interesting study somewhere where it's like what the speed should be to get a good flight.
Well, just to put into perspective, London to New York on a conventional flight is about 8 hours.
Yeah, so that's a nap.
Yeah.
I've actually just got that over here. Yeah.
Concorde did it in 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an annoying. You kind of I feel like if you want to do a distance like that, you probably want to reach 1 hour 50 max, right? Or just under 2 hours.
There's an interesting thing about the. I think you might be going on to this next. There's an interesting way that if you go from London to New York on a Concorde, I believe you actually gain time.
Yes, because you're going.
The Concorde is Superman.
No, it's
time
because
travel, my friend. Time travel.
it's because the direction you're crossing the international date line.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas if you do it the other way, you actually
you lose.
you gain. so it's not ideal. But the thing is, these days, I mean, let's be honest. If any of these companies succeed, these flight tickets are not going to be cheap.
No.
Now, the only people who are really going to be getting them are obviously, richer business people. And once you reach a certain level of
business,
everything's business. And you never really switch off. So that you enter a phase where time is actually money.
Yeah, I guess so.
And now, back in the day, maybe not. Back in the day, you were just trying to shave as much time so that you could get to your next meeting.
Yeah.
Whereas here, now we have
Teams.
Well, I was going to say now we actually have Wi-Fi on board planes. So if there's so it means the person could be working, all the way along there to then go do those same face-to-face business deals, meetings. Like it for a business person, it's great.
Is it? Because is it a redundant technology if you want to go faster in a plane? That's what I'm trying to point out here. Because you can connect to a meeting online. If you're going to get to a holiday destination, it sounds like a great idea. Like if you want to go in for leisure, because you want as much time as possible, but it's never going to be affordable for those people.
I'm just a small thing. Business deals. Now, big business deals, there's a certain amount of respect that kind of occurs between each party, and meeting face to face is still one of the best ways you can actually earn the other party's respect, because doing it over Teams is
more environmentally friendly.
I agree, it's environmentally friendly, but to the other person, it's like, oh, you've not put the effort in to even get here, you know.
I wonder if this is a masculinity thing.
Maybe.
I mean, it's worth also
it
saying like there's a story between about like private jets and things. I believe it's Walmart have one of the biggest private jet fleets for a corporation, like for themselves, like its own company, and they have execs or managers of an area that have to go, I believe, from the corporate office to the individual stores. They like to see them, and they have a policy, or they did have, I do not know if this is still true, they did have a policy that they weren't allowed to be out for a full 24 hours out of their home.
Oh, wow.
So the reason why they have such a large fleet was so that all the different staff can fly from each store. Yeah. So it's things like that this, if it goes to the private sector, could solve.
Crikey.
And
money, my friend, money.
Money.
Yeah.
The private jet industry is booming right now.
That's true.
Because the number of millionaires over the last couple of years has risen so crazily that, well, I mean, obviously down to things like crypto and quite a lot of other businesses taking off. And as a result, you've just got millionaires flying about everywhere.
From this last few minutes conversation, basically we can summarize that this probably is redundant in the way Concorde used it. Number one. Point one.
Yeah.
Used as a commercial airliner. There's not as much need because it won't be affordable anymore. So affordability removes it from being commercial.
There is a point where they could get it to because obviously they're using more sustainable fuels and things like that, which actually brings costs down. But
that's surprising. Normally it brings it up.
I agree. But effectively, what's going to happen is it's probably going to be for your first class.
Yeah. We're thinking about people with private jets at the moment. That's the first people that are going to get it.
Not necessarily, because you have to understand the jump from a first class plane ticket on like an Emirates plane versus chartering a private jet is such an astronomical amount of money, because you go from a flight from London to New York, let's say first class plane ticket, few grand maybe.
I believe for a single person it's a couple of grand.
It's definitely sub 10 grand. If you go for the Emirates experience, that goes up because of their because of the aircraft and the experience you get. But compare that to if you wanted to charter like one of your private jets to go from the UK all the way to New York, because that's a full transatlantic flight.
Genuinely, you're talking in some regions, depending on what plane you go,
close to 100.
Yeah,
maybe more.
If you're going for like a was it 650?
Yeah, G650,
which could do. We'll put the plane up. I love that plane.
Yeah, it's a fantastic plane. It's actually recently been retired.
Yeah, because that can go non-stop.
Yep.
For a large part of, depending on wind direction as well, can go from London to New York quite comfortably.
Yeah, but once again, the private jets are not commercially cheaper. Like if you're trying to save time and things like that, it still ends up not being cheaper for you to do that. So as an option, it's not going to be like let me get 18 of my best mates, let's split it. It's never going to be cheap. It's always going to be cheaper for you to go for a first class flight on a normal commercial airliner.
Interesting, but you also point out money and speed. So what might happen is if this becomes a first class flight, is people stop getting those private jets because they're gaining money then by not having to use their slower jets.
Yes. So I have a feeling.
I think I'm going to understand.
No. So effectively,
we've unwrapped this. Well done, everyone.
I think I'm still kind of with your original point. I don't see the commercial airliner perspective taking off too much.
No.
But I can see a lot of smaller them making smaller versions with the same technology.
Yes.
So being able to go, supersonic, but go for private jet-sized aircraft, I could see that taking off.
It is also worth saying the reason why a lot of these very wealthy people, potentially like billionaires or CEOs of corporation, is their time is money.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the reason why they do a lot of private jets, for instance, is down to they don't have to go through the same customs.
Yep.
They don't have to do the same. They could literally drive up
to
their jet,
drive
especially in
straight
America. They don't have to. They what there's if you're going if you're just flying from within these states.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the same amount of checks as you do going to a different country.
You'll have a private terminal.
Yes. You have private terminal, private. There are like I see them on Instagram and things like that. They have.
Your Instagram feed is very different to mine.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Mine is very, very. You could tell it's for me.
yes.
It's all technology and private jet stuff. Cause,
I love planes.
More private planes. I like the style of them.
They are lovely.
Aspirations.
And there's companies like charter companies that like will pick you up, get you on a. They will hire you a jet, and they'll pretty much like a concierge service. But then there's also the people who actually own them, and they just don't want to spend time. They don't want to have to get there half an hour, 2 hours early. Half an hour is a luxury.
Yeah.
2 hours early.
I was going to say, imagine like now conventional flight. You're told to rock up 3 hours. We push it by turning up 2 hours earlier.
Yeah.
These guys turn up on the dot.
And they will walk onto their
They
plane.
turn up. They walk straight in. Taxis off.
Everybody's there before them.
Yes.
Crew, everything.
Yep.
And if you do these concierge services,
They'll have your food.
they'll have food, any food you want.
Yep.
If you
favorite
want
food,
a specific burger from somewhere, they'll either try and recreate it or go there.
and pick it up and
Order
bring it
it
back.
I'd like a peach floating in perfume served in a man's hat.
Yeah, no, it is pretty insane, but that is where kind of like the whole airfare industry is. So this is kind of how I could see this kind of technology being used.
Okay.
Actually, building on that, took a bit of googling.
Nice.
The old goggle.
If you travel via supersonic, for instance, with Concorde from London Heathrow to JFK Airport, which is in I don't want to say Los Angeles. It's New York.
New York City.
New York.
You actually gain 1 hour and 10 minutes if you fly via at supersonic speed.
And that is why you have a lot of businessmen, especially back in the
They
day.
gained a
using
25-hour date.
More than a 25-hour day.
But that was the original selling point behind it. It was meant to be for business people, business.
But funny enough, you did mention obviously you had quite a lot of this is a massive science problem and a science engineering task.
Yes.
Now, I wanna move this on to we're still talking about supersonic aircraft, but onto what the US military requested. You know,
The US military requesting
they request
new technology.
insane.
No.
I'm not surprised.
Now, way back when, Lockheed Martin was busy making money through commercial airliners, other fighter jets, and the US government, Uncle Sam, turns up. All right, lads,
Deep pockets.
deep pockets. I got me some money. I want you to develop me a super secret spy aircraft that can travel at stupid speeds. Go.
James Bond plane.
Lockheed Martin, they don't know what to do. They're like, we're busy making money. We can't use our resources to do that right now, or we can't use our people. So what do? They get on a little bus. They send a man on a bus. On a bus. Drives around America, picking up every unstable scientist and engineer he could find.
Nice.
Put him in a building, slap a raccoon. No, actually, no, not a raccoon. A skunk on it. Call it Skunk Works.
Oh, Skunk Works. Okay.
And guess what's born? The Skunk Works wing of Lockheed Martin, which then started generating the nuttiest planes. A few
Greatest.
examples, which will be popped up on screen. F-117. That thing looks ridiculous. The
Describe
SR.
it for me.
Yeah, it's the most aggressive angular plane. You look at it and it's like
It's a plane of an 80s.
Yeah. It looks so flat from the bottom, but the top is just all of these triangles.
Nice.
And you look at it, you're just like, it looks like a transformer.
Was that trying to be the smallest cross-sectional area?
Yes.
On the radar.
Yeah.
I do believe like now that was like peak technology back then.
There you go.
Like now it's actually classed as a.
Oh, I do know.
You get what I mean, right?
I
like
made a model of that.
Yeah, it's like so aggressively angular. You just look at it, you're like, that just looks aggressive.
I mean, even now, these people don't actually call it stealth anymore because it is.
Yeah.
It was the one that was called literally the stealth bomber.
Yeah.
When you used to learn about it in school.
Yeah. Now, with technology being so good, it's not. It's not stealth anymore.
No, I think
there's a term for it. I can't remember.
It's cross sectional. I think it's radar cross sectional area or something like that. Basically, if a country is using its radar, this is the size of the blip it'll see. So radar's gonna see anything from birds to planes. Now, I'm pretty sure there's a couple stealth aircraft that register as small as some of the smallest birds down to insect size. It's ridiculous. And I do have a chart that we can bring up at a point. But I think a specific aircraft I want to talk about from the nuts at Skunkworks is SR-71. Yeah. Now, for anyone who doesn't know planes,
I don't know planes.
There is something you will have watched, I hope. Transformers, the second movie.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry.
For everyone else, the Transformers, the second movie, there's a point when they go around searching for Autobots that have been sleeping for the longest time, and they enter the famous space aircraft museum in America, and they awaken one that. I believe the Transformer was called Jetfire. That is an SR-71.
Oh, this is how you talk to one of our colleagues in Transformer terms.
Yes.
That's how you make him understand what it is.
It's so funny that it's
the
funny
one
that he
was
gets it.
that they start to waken him and he goes, "Oh crap! It's a Decepticon!
It's a Decepticon! Run!"
It's also the chap who goes to Optimus Prime. I'll lend you my parts or something.
Yes. Yeah. No.
And then he
that
goes,
is the one.
"Let's roll," and then ends up being the hero.
Yeah. One of the coolest aircraft ever.
I just haven't really watched many of the Transformers.
Right, we're going to sit you down and watch them.
I've watched the first one. I've watched Bumblebee, and that's about it.
The other ones they're really good.
It's just Shia LaBeouf's face.
Actually, I have a story about one of them, which I
with
won't say in this episode, but there's a CG story about one of them that I know.
Okie dokie. I guess we're doing a film episode at one point, because I have got so much Lucasfilm knowledge locked up in my brain.
Let's do that one.
That sounds good.
In a future episode.
May the 4th.
Yes, good idea. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we obviously talk about SR-7. We talk about Concorde aircraft, and we're talking about them achieving, tremendous speed at, beating Mach 1, going over Mach 1. Now, that's Mach 1's cool. SR-71, Mach 3.4.
Just skip the 2, skip the 3, went to 3.4.
There were plenty of other aircraft that were capable of doing more, but because I mean, once you get to a certain point, you've entered rocket territory. You've entered spacecraft territory. Yeah. Because
Spaceship.
Pretty much. But yeah, the scientists created this, and as a result, there was actually quite a funny story. Have any of you heard of the LA speed check story?
No.
Okay. Take you way back when. So this is
when is this way back when? Because I'm quite old.
No, this is way before any of us.
So old.
Now, for any plane enthusiasts or people who've flown before or pilots, whenever you're flying, there are specific control towers that are in charge of certain areas. That they'll normally be referred to as centers or centers effectively. Now, one day, you've got so the beauty of how these centers work is that they all operate on the same frequency for an area. So at any point, you can contact the control tower, give them whether it's an emergency situation or you wanting to dial in your gauges, get a calibration. Now, not all aircraft have GPS and other fancy equipment effectively, so they're not capable of telling their speed accurately or their location accurately. So every now and then, especially in smaller aircraft like Cessnas, you do need to get a quick ground speed check to see where you are, but also what speed you're traveling at. And also make sure your gauges aren't going crazy, make sure you don't have to do an emergency landing and be like, my aircraft is compromised. So someone gets on the line, remember, every radio person can hear this. LA Center, Alpha Tango, requesting speed check, please. Speed check returns back. Cessna, Alpha Tango, we read you at 90 knots over the ground. Now, somebody else in a little twin prop plane. LA Center, Twin Beach, could I get a ground speed check, please? Twin Beach, we read you at 120 knots over the ground. Now, a plucky little pilot who was flying around in an F-18 was like, oh, look at these guys. Chumps. Oh, let me just show them what real speed's like. LA Center, this is Dusty 52. Please, could I get a speed check? Dusty 52, we read you at 620 knots over the ground. Everyone, and obviously, if anybody else is going to jump on this line, they had to have a faster speed.
Yeah.
No one was going to do that. Click. LA Center, this is Aspen 52. Could I please get a ground speed check? Aspen 52, we read you at 1,942 knots over the ground.
By any chance?
One second. Pilot gets back on, or radio man gets on. Sorry, Senna, our instruments are showing us closer to 2,000 knots over the ground.
And by any chance, was that?
Yep, it was an SR-71. Just cheekily getting on that. It's quite a brilliant story. There was a couple other stories where similar cases had happened. Now there's like a different altitudes and flight ceilings that you're meant to fly at, and one of the SR-71 pilots radioed into the center saying, Senna, do we have permission to enter flight deck 60? This is like altitude of like, I can't remember. I can give you the exact height.
We could put a picture of the flight.
Yeah, we put a picture up. But it was ridiculous. And the guy was like, oh, this guy's joking.
Yeah.
Now, if you could reach this, I think it was like a flight deck 600, I think. If you can reach this, go for it. No one's flying there. LA Speed Center, Roger, dropping down to flight deck 600, because that's just how high they flew so much higher than anyone could comprehend.
The story about these is like they can fly quicker than most at the time when it was developed. Most missiles or bullets.
Yes.
So they would slow down. Believe you can correct me on this. I believe one of the stories about the Soviet era.
Oh yes, I do know the story.
With Russia.
Which correct me if I'm wrong here. The plane was flying above, doing a bit of recon.
Yep.
Nice pictures. Look at the sights, and then it gets slows down to the point where it gets noticed on the radar. And then obviously they send up their planes, try to catch up to it and fire missiles at said plane. The plane just casually goes a bit quicker, and it can see them outrun it.
Yep.
the actual missiles trying to shoot said things, and there was loads of stories over the Cold War about that.
Oh, they loved it. The news lapped it up, and the funny thing about it is that it was a slightly broken SR-71. The reason it slowed down in the first place and got caught on the radar was that one of its engines was having trouble.
Wow.
I never knew that. I never knew it was broken. I thought they did it as a laugh because it's American.
Nope.
America.
And ever since then, we haven't really pursued too much in terms of fast aircraft. But they, the Nuts and Skunk Works have confirmed SR-72 is in the works.
Okay.
They've apparently already started testing, so we'll maybe get a reveal probably.
For those wondering, it's the plane that is in the new Top Gun.
Oh yes, yeah. The Dark Star. It's pretty much it.
Yeah.
We don't really know.
No.
But
it's the idea behind that plane
came from
Yes.
Lockheed
Does that mean
Martin.
you can like blow someone's hat off if you go really low, like in the film?
yeah, of course. So they've confirmed confirmed the speed that SR-72 will be achieving. Mach 6.
Ooh,
Yeah, so
that's a spicy
close to double SR-72.
Oh, that's slow compared to the shuttle.
Oh yeah, I mean space.
Can it lap the planet and then come back and then shoot the missile that they just shot at it?
Probably, but the thing is, you're entering a world of hypersonic missiles these days.
I think the days of being able to outrun, I'm not going to say never because there's people in Skunk Works that are mad and are geniuses. And I'm not saying never, but currently I think there's the hypersonic missiles that we're getting to.
Yeah.
Some countries will say they 100% have them.
Yeah, some of them are just, I've got hypersonic missiles, really.
But what does it actually reach?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
But conveniently, what this actually brings us around to, because SR-72 was a spy craft,
Yes.
is actually something we went to last year. They've released their theme for the year. It's called Eyes of the Sky. We're, of course, referring to RIAT.
The place where he is the happiest man alive.
Oh, you've never seen
I've never seen a smile so big.
I took them there for the first time last year, and they both loved it. They did.
I took far too many pictures.
I definitely enjoyed myself.
Yep.
Although it was very hot.
Oh no, it was boiling.
It was a hot day.
I think we made the most of the Gresham's shopping spree.
We did make the most of it. We took. I mean, so I've done this a few times in the past. So I tried to explain to the guys, what to expect. So we took camping chairs, blankets. We even had a cooler as well.
Yeah, boy.
Yes.
Honestly, we had a good setup.
We did.
It was actually a good setup, and because we were doing it all via charity, we got parking right next to the place.
That was
perfect.
very convenient.
Yeah. But whilst we were there, we walked past a lot of planes, but what you also got to see was what each of these planes could do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what you could also see was an army of cameras and ridiculous lenses.
Yes.
Just a few.
Which actually leads us...
Oh, does it? Does it lead us to something else?
It does lead us to somebody's purchase.
That's me. Yes. Hello. So for context, you might have noticed if you're on video, there is a big lens in front of you. Yeah, it's a lens. Don't worry, it's nothing else. That is a Tamron lens from, I believe, the 80s, which my father has passed over to me now. She doesn't really do photography on the SLR. I've also gotten the camera, in fact. But what I've done recently is being really sensible with my money, as always. And
one.
yes,
We are always sensible.
We are always sensible with money.
Yep,
as
definitely.
long as it's useful. And I've bought a ZV-10, which is a vlog camera, and you're viewing the quality on it right now. It is slightly degraded due to the fact that I'm currently using it through Streamlabs to record, something we're going to try and rectify for next time.
We're slowly figuring things out.
We're slowly figuring things out.
I mean, we've got laptops now.
Yes.
I think we're getting a bit better.
Yes.
Upgrades, people, upgrades. So yeah, I wanted to just do a small review on this camera because the limited time that I've had it, I've been very impressed. So normally for my YouTube videos, I record on a A65 Sony, which is an old digital SLR, which can record in HD. Or I use a Logitech Brio webcam, which is meant to be 4K, although I'm not fully convinced it records properly in 4K because of the sensor size. And before that, I had a third camera, which was a C922 Logitech webcam as well to try and do torso shots. So what I've done now is I've purchased this wonderful vlog camera so that I can replace the C922 position on my desk. And also I've started to purchase some camera equipment so I can click onto different stands. I was actually hoping to at some point mount it instead of the Brio looking down at my desk. I normally use the Brio looking down at what I'm doing. But the interesting thing is that one of the reasons I went for this camera was so the lenses themselves have different mounting schemes. So basically it's poke-yoked in a way so that only certain lenses can be attached. They are designed for an E-mount scheme. The E-mount scheme came in 2016. And all of my previous stuff was probably purchased around 2012 to 2013. So it was the previous scheme called the E-mount. No, the A-mount, sorry. And the interesting thing is Sony amazingly create a backwards compatible adapter. So I've got an E-mount camera, and right now it's using an A-mount lens with the adapter.
I was going to say, that is incredibly rare for a company to create something that's backwards compatible.
They did that, and I believe some other companies made it for, like Canon, for instance. They made them. I don't know if it was them or a third party, but they did. But Sony, I do believe, were the originals to bring them out because they were the first company to transition entirely to this new mounting scheme. So they had, and obviously they had all these other lenses. And
of course.
All these other companies, like people bought Canon lenses or Nikon lenses, if you want them, for them. So they were like, oh, I've got this new mount. Oh, so Sony, in their wisdom, which was really good of them, developed this adapter which allows you to. It does change. I do believe it does change some of the focal distances because it actually moves the where the collision point of the light coming out of the lens to the sensor. Yeah. So it does change some of the focal lengths and things like that.
Yeah, there's some minor changes, but it just means that if you've already got thousands of pounds worth of lenses, like I do now, I don't have to buy new ones for my new camera.
I think the change isn't massive.
No,
it's just as a thing to consider. I think it's the best way to describe it.
I mean, the thing is, like, if you were like someone like let's say they had chosen not to do backwards compatibility, people would have been raging.
Oh yeah, I think so. Well, the thing is, the A-mount scheme isn't just a Sony thing. The A-mount scheme began in the late 80s.
Oh, okay.
By a company called Minolta, who used to be a SLR film-based camera, the original camera manufacturer. Sorry if that made anyone feel old there. And that they basically took it on board in 2006 because it was. I think they must have bought out Minolta at the time because they were like improving all of their cameras at the time. And because it's the same attachment, the lens in front of you is actually a vintage lens from that decade that will then attach to a camera of this year because there's an adapter, which is mental. I have not used that lens yet. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know if it's perfect or it works properly, but I would like to find out. Downside for me, I guess, because I'm going to see you happy again, which I hate. I don't really. Is we're going to have to go somewhere like RIAT, unless I'm going to take up bird watching, which is pretty unlikely.
Well, and I mean, considering the number of aircraft they're probably going to pull out, So because of the theme, they're going to be predominantly eyes in the sky, so it's predominantly around surveillance aircraft. That's going to be the theme. You're still going to have, your crazy fighter jets. You're still going to have your F-18s, your F-35s, and including the older planes. I'd be very surprised if we didn't see, the Spitfire and the Lancaster bomber do a flyby. I'd be very surprised if we didn't.
Yeah,
but something that's going to be brought up quite a lot in Eyes in the Sky is cameras.
Yes,
because these actually one of the aircraft that I believe both of you saw, which was the U-2. Which is the really skinny one that lands on like bicycle wheels. Yeah. That is still operational. That still operates today and operates out of Fairford, which is where RIAT is based.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is that why they had that pace car? Is the best way to describe it.
It is actually a pace car.
What's the pace car?
So the pace car is
Dodge. I want to
say.
It sounded like
no. It is a Dodge. It is a Dodge. It is a white Dodge that is spec'd out. For good reason. It's effectively driven and radioed by another U-2 pilot,
right?
Who's on a radio to the U-2 pilot who's landing, to just talk him through the landing maneuvers, because the U-2 pilot cannot see anything because he's on top. The nose of the U-2 is quite long. I mean, it's designed to house so much sensitive.
Is it quite long? Was it almost the longest plane?
The wingspan is long because you actually saw the wingspan.
Widest plane.
But the really funny thing is the plane lands effectively like it's a bicycle, because it has two sets of wheels, two in the front, two in the back. But because the body of the actual plane is actually quite narrow, it doesn't have space to do 3 points.
Some say that the two wheels were used because of budget cuts.
Imagine going to the government like, sorry guys,
we've run out of money here.
Optional extras, the other two wheels.
Yeah. Or it's just like, sorry, can't put two more wheels on. Wait. Just wait. We can't do it.
Your pilot's too bloody fat.
Yeah.
It's quite. If it was budget cuts, I'd laugh.
That would be funny.
That'd be the best way.
Because I tried to get a picture of that. Now I have an old Canon D53. I want to say 100. The one I used.
I'm just blinking because I don't know Canon numbers.
I can't remember if it's that. I think it's the D53 or 54. Can never remember. I'll check in a second. But I had it at sports mode.
Yep.
Sport.
And so it has a really fast shutter speed. It sounds like a gun's going on, like a mini gun. I still couldn't get the pictures I wanted. Admittedly, I needed to get a better lens, which I am in the process of finding.
But to be fair, you've now been
with money.
Well, you say sensible with money. The one I'm wanting, my friend,
Given the numbers,
is very similar to what you bought.
Ooh.
But it's a full frame.
Okay.
It's one I wanted for. I think you probably know I've been wanting one for quite a number of years now. Just not had the
lens envy.
Not lens.
No.
I did get well when we went there.
It was.
Oh my god!
Some of them are like nearly a meter long.
It's it's the moment you see a lens with an extra handle underneath it to hold it like a gun. You're just like, what?
I remember we were taking a photo and of one of the planes before they set off. They were doing some pre-flight checks.
Oh yeah.
And I get my lens out. It's a decent size. It's
a good 40 centimeters long, maybe.
It's
on body.
Yeah, it's a Sigma 150 to 600 mil. So it's.
I'm just blinking at the camera.
I'm
I don't understand any of that.
I'm still relearning everything.
Really?
Because I haven't done this since I did photography at school.
Is it slowly coming to you though?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. You're picking it up. I mean, I don't know a lot. I just know enough to get me in trouble. It's the best way to describe it.
In trouble monetary.
Maybe.
Sensible with money.
And I've always wanted the Sony. It's an Alpha, so it's an A7 Mark III was what I wanted originally.
Oh yes.
Now they've been out a while.
Mm-hmm.
Still incredibly expensive.
Sounds about right.
I was looking at the A99.
£1,599.
Yeah, it's a similar price range.
Now I also thought, oh, do you know what? Why don't I look at the newer one?
Oh boy,
don't.
that sounds painful.
Painful, yes.
Yes.
You're looking at about 3,600.
Their top spec now is over $5,000.
Yeah, I've been wanting a full frame. Now I'm thinking, since you've got this, I'm going to see how
You're
yours
thinking,
goes.
are you?
I've been thinking.
Oh
Lots.
my days!
The auction very much came out then.
It did.
You can buy a car
I'm
for that.
going to be looking at your camera and see what it's like with other lenses, because I think it's the same size frame as mine.
Yep.
But I've always wanted. I think for 2 years I've known you. 3 years now I've known you guys.
Yeah.
I've wanted to get a full frame camera.
Right.
Just not had the
funds.
Well, I've had the funds. It's more. I say the funds. I don't want to
Reason?
spend the reason.
The reason, okay.
Like I used to do a bit of photography here and there on holiday or things like that. So I got a basic lens kit. But if we are doing these events more,
Oh yes.
I enjoy photo editing and things like that.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like you should show some of the pictures that you took last year.
Yeah, I've got a
like-
really
and
nice
post-edit
one
them.
of that folding, the plane. I can't remember exactly what it was. It had the wings the way it
Oh, I
folds.
remember. Was that?
Oh,
that
yes.
was like a stealth bomb, wasn't it?
No,
It was an old prop.
I know which one you're
We'll
talking
put a
about.
picture on there.
Yes,
I will.
I do
I
have
tried to edit it out because some people, how could they, walked in front of me taking the photo.
Was it me?
No, it wasn't.
No,
That's a
no, it was this.
No, you were too busy taking
So-
a photo.
so-
of
No,
me.
I was too busy telling the little kids. You see that plane there?
Oh, yes.
That was almost the longest plane, and because we're at RIAT, all the kids actually know stuff. So they look at you like,
I was
the hell
so
are you on about?
proud because you had these 5-year-old kids just turn around and look, just being like, "Huh? You are chatting right."
Definitely
shit."
works at the tank museum. You just say every tank's the longest tank, and all the kids look at you like you're God. It's amazing.
But yeah, so you getting this has made me go. I should
Yes,
really
yes.
look into it again. I'm thinking I'm probably getting an older one since I don't do much videography anymore.
Yeah.
And if we're all going to the play, you could do videos as well on yours a lot better than
Yeah, for
what I
sure.
would.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting because evidently both of you enjoyed it enough from last year that you'd be willing to join me maybe this year doing it again.
I'm determined to get a very good picture of the red arrows.
Of course, the red arrows are lovely. They're great.
I got a decent one when they was doing the I can't remember what the move's called. It's where they split in half and then go across each
Oh,
other.
right, yeah.
And one of them goes like that way.
It's
They twist them between
Yes,
each
yeah,
other.
It's always the heart, like the stomach, like lurching one because you're like it looks like they're going to crash.
So I've got some good photos. I will put some on. I'll send you the photos and we'll put them on. But I want to get some better ones.
Of course.
Because I found the loading time on
Oh
it.
yeah.
I think you guys might have been there when I took lots of photos. The buffer got full. So it took forever as I kept
I've
missing.
had that before. That is so annoying.
And the one thing I found, I've been reading, Sony's do suffer from that, but my word, they are quicker.
Really?
They are
Yeah.
good. Like if I can get that full frame, I think
That's pretty
that'd be
good.
lovely.
It's quite funny because I always, when I was doing photography, Sony was always thought of as the underdog to Canon. But actually, in the last few years, I think they've overtaken them.
Really? Oh, right.
They've
Even though
definitely
they're
for-
still thought of as the underdog. They're like unsung underdogs.
Yeah, they are
Not
like-
underdogs.
Considering how big Sony is, it is bonkers to think that they might be considered to be the underdogs.
Well, when you're going up against Canon
I
and
suppose
Nikon,
they've had the
in
history,
saying
right?
that, I think the reason why Sony is winning this battle, they went to mirrorless straight. Like
Yeah, they did.
they brought out a camera and it was mirrorless, and all the YouTubers took them up because they were great for vlogging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on top of that, something that I've been searching for is clean HDMI. So when you're streaming, clean HDMI is you plug the camera's HDMI into something like a capture card by someone like Elgato. You can then open that up like we are right now, but actually get full quality as well. So I've got that set up for upstairs on my PC. And what happens is normally if you look on a camera, you've got like a little box that does your focus. You've got all your info around the edge. It just doesn't show any of that. It just shows the picture. So one of the problems that happened specifically in lockdown, which actually drove this to happen in the industry, was the fact that everyone wanted a webcam straight away, and there was a webcam shortage.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So there was certain people and certain manufacturers that actually released firmware updates to give them a clean HDMI output to the cameras at the time. Sony, I don't think did that, but what they did do was in the next few years they realised there was a market and they released a clean HDMI camera.
Smart.
Is that what you've got here?
This is one of them. I think this might be like the second or third version since then. Potentially.
Sorry, which one is this one you've?
This is the ZV-10. So I think there was the 600 and the 600 and something, or 6,000.
Is that the 6400?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, the yes,
Yeah.
mirrorless
That was
camera.
like before this came out. You were getting told to buy that one by the streamers.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, because it could
Yeah.
do 4K, but I believe one of them, I think it was the one prior to this, so 2 generations before this
Yeah.
one was the overheating issue.
Yes.
That was because I believe it was like when 4K was
Difficult.
just coming out.
Right.
I
okay,
believe you
yeah,
had
yeah.
like I think it was of the time.
I suppose they hadn't really figured out the
I'm going to
efficiencies.
show my age here.
Oh.
When the 1070s, not 1070s, geez, the 1070 GPU
Right.
and the 1080s. That was I believe, some of the first graphics card that could really do 4K.
Right.
I
Okay.
believe it's some of the ones that could do 4K commercial, should I say, output.
The interesting thing I did find out from my research was, so I've got an A65. They then released an A67, which is HD with clean HDMI, but that was like the $3,000 one.
Oh wow!
And then after that, they did an A99, which was same again, but I think they had a slightly different sensor. And then after that, the A99 II, they went to 4K. So that one is the one that I would love to get because it's the one where I don't need an adapter, so I can get autofocus.
Right.
You might want to get the bigger full frame ones because I do believe they have an actual HDMI port,
Really
an actual port out for it.
interesting.
Because they do. It was one of them where it was the first ones that tried to be where you modular,
Yeah,
Okay.
so you could add things onto it, not like
I think the original A series is what I'm talking about. The reason they had HDMI was, of course, not streaming. Back then, we didn't have streaming. That was 2016.
It wasn't as big back
I
then.
think it's because they were trying to tap into things like people that went to live events and they'd project it up onto the screens. Like if they did music festivals and stuff.
Of course.
That's the only reason I can
Is
think
it like
of why
easier
they
ways to project like what's the crowd seeing
Yeah,
and things like that?
of course. The other thing you can also do is you can project it if you're making a film, you can put it onto a monitor to then view the film as the director as well.
Yeah,
Of course.
So there's a number of reasons. I think what it kind of, even though it's like $3,000 to $5,000, that is very affordable for like a film quality camera. So if you're just starting out and you get given a clean HDMI, that's a really good buying point to then buy that product rather than the competitors that didn't have clean HDMI at the time.
I never knew that was a proper issue. I thought it always gave you the information they gave you the information plus a separate clean feed.
Unfortunately not. So the A65 I've got upstairs, the reason I had to get a new camera was that one. Every time I do a YouTube video, I'm using the SD card and recording and exporting it afterwards. Because there is no clean HDMI feed, and there's no one, unfortunately, on GitHub that has yet released a firmware update for it, because it's such an old piece of technology, no one's using it.
Right.
It's interesting that we've come from 2 separate routes, and from like, I've done more photography. You do a lot more video than me.
Made for the screen, darling.
Made for the screen.
Yeah.
And we've both come to a similar conclusion. Let's just go Sony.
Yeah.
Like
So-
separately, we've not fully spoke about this.
I mean,
other than when you were
you've
buying
both
this.
individually assessed it in your 2 different fields
Yeah.
and landed on it, which kind of actually
It's quite funny.
well, it shows off how Sony's done well, but based on their versatility.
Yeah.
They're good for photographs,
Yeah.
but also really good for videography.
Yeah.
They've like They've mastered it. It's basically what they've done. They've done the right thing.
I'm just hoping one day I walk into a charity shop and there's loads of old Ultra lenses in there, and I'm like, I'm buying all of them now, and I'm going to see what they look like, and I don't care how much it costs.
Well, I mean, basically, what I'm hearing is you've given us your initial review of the ZV-10, but it sounds like as time goes on, we're going to have you using it a bit more, get your thoughts on it.
Definitely.
And then maybe, after this year's RIAT, we can post a... Well, if we're hoping to visit RIAT, I think we'd like to take a bunch of pictures, maybe even capture some content if we're allowed there.
If we do end up going, I will be getting... It might not be the Sony I want. I will be getting a new camera.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to do it, I want to do it right.
Yeah, no. It's one of those things which, I mean, obviously we've been lucky, I suppose, or privileged that we were able to do it last time, but, let's... If it's something we want to do, might as well.
Definitely. And the other thing is words. I've also been building an A65 camera rig, so it's portable with 2 handles and a microphone holder. So when it comes to going to events, we'll probably use that most of the time. And then when we really need extra quality, where you basically need to zoom in and post, that's when this one will come out.
Yeah,
because that one's a bit more rugged.
Yes, and not one that you've had to spend.
You're talking of price. I have written it down, so we can tell.
How is it?
Until you put the adapter on it, I thought it was quite affordable.
How much was the adapter actually? Just before you.
The adapter was £265.
And was it a genuine Sony?
Yes.
They know how to charge.
Yes, they do. There was loads of knockoffs, but I've figured I've got nice lenses. If they're not that good,
I don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that's connecting it.
Exactly. I want something that I can say, if it fails, I can blame Sony directly and maybe get a replacement lens.
Yes. Yeah. That'd be the way to do it.
So yeah, it was $265 for the adapter. The camera was $699.
See, that's actually
affordable.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, if you go through Sony's website and you actually go through their search bar, it doesn't come up. You have to search for it on Google to then find it at the moment. I think it's because they must be running low on stock, because this is a previous model now, and they've got the ZV-10 too.
Well, either that or they're quietly trying to kind of bring in the replacement and then just kind of drive attention away from the previous
it took me a while to re-find it after I put it into my basket, and then it lost it in my basket. So that was annoying.
Okay.
But the interesting thing that was quite nice was it came with a 64GB SD card. Which, today we couldn't film on the SD card because it's too small, because you need about 250 gig for the length of our episode. But for someone that does YouTube content upstairs and then exports it, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is as well, because unlike the A65 time, it's now got a USB-C connection on it. So if you plug in the USB into your computer, you can just directly download it from the SD card quicker than if you unplug it. Also awesome, because the A65, you would always unplug the SD card, which wears it out and makes it unreliable.
I wonder if there's a way to either put an external solid-state drive on there.
Oh, maybe.
Like plugging it in, or there's an app for everything.
Of course.
There's an app for that.
I wonder if there's a Sony... It wouldn't surprise me, because I know like Canon and all that have their own apps where you could actually film direct. Like we've got now a setup where you've got it plugged into the computer. Very probably. I'm pretty sure there must be a way to be able to record a full quality to your laptop and not having to... like you said, this is new.
Yes, this is very new. I might have set it up and put a different lens on it and hit the record button upstairs, and then today I went, I wonder if we can use it for the podcast, and plugged it in so that we could at least use it.
Like before filming, we set this up.
Yes, we had some fun. The mount scheme that we've got is less than desirable.
Sketchy.
It's not sketchy. It's just not ideal because.
Do you know what it is? Not strong and stable.
It's not the Theresa May of boom arms.
No, it's not.
That is holding it up.
Such a UK joke.
Yes, it is.
Theresa May was a prime minister that was in office for a very short time and wasn't strong and stable, but used the phrase "strong and stable." There's your context.
I've just come to the realization I'm gonna lose the two of you in this year's RIAT, because you two are gonna be amongst the absolute army of photographers.
Well, you'll lose James. I'm going to interview people. And I want to. I know it's going to sound a bit mental. I want to convince someone on camera that was almost the longest plane. That is a great challenge.
It's a great challenge. I'm just waiting for a pilot to deck you. Be like, what you on about?
No, I'm waiting for a pilot to go along with it just for fun.
Maybe.
The US Air Force guys have a good sense of humour.
They do. They do.
So yes, that's the plan for this year anyway.
Yeah, I think we'll explore trying to get us.
Will you be using this particular camera for the video?
Possibly for part of it. I think this one I'm currently using for sit-down situations.
Yes.
Just because then I can put it on a nice stable tripod and control it all.
Yeah.
The other one probably used for walking around.
Okay.
Yep.
Even though it's heavier, but still somehow better-ish.
I suppose we could come. Sorry.
Most likely, I was going to say we'd probably be walking around, right? It's very rare that we actually.
Unless being at a booth, which is unlikely.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
Or a table, which is unlikely.
I suppose the other thing would be come back in.
We could make our own one.
Like
when we last time we bought the ammo crates. And
we need to put this picture.
We walked along
we'll definitely
the main runway, put down the ammo crates, and just sat on it. And everyone just looked at you like, that's actually a really smart idea.
It was the pause. They looked at us like, what are you doing? And then went,
That's actually kind of smart. Because for context, we bought these ginormous ammo crates. And for some reason, they only existed in the military tent that was all the way on the other side of the place.
That was like a 45-minute walk.
Yeah, and multiple times we just stopped. And then finally, at some point, we stopped for like the umpteenth time. And I turned around to a random guy. And I was like, yo, could you just take a picture of us three? Because it was comical. We'll definitely insert the picture in there.
Yeah, we we got camera equipment, so we're going to have boxes.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
or bags, at least.
I feel like we need to make a portable rig for this podcast. Yes. That would be cool.
With the ammo crates as seats.
It just pops out of this giant construction. It starts out like a tiny little box.
Yeah. I suppose we can get... I think in terms of reviews on this camera, we could pop back every so often, see how it's going.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, as and when I get a new one, you get new lenses.
And see how many more upgrades I've done to it. I've already got a small rig... metal mount around it with a HDMI to normal mini adapter, and I've got a few things 3D printed upstairs.
That what it is? I was trying to figure that out.
Because they snap these mini HDMIs, so all the cameras do it now, I think, for board size.
Right.
So what you do is you straight away you buy a metal box to put it in, and then screw on an adapter.
Yeah.
Fair news. Fair news.
I suppose it's going to be one day we're going to have new storage solution for all our photography.
Well, as time goes on, if the viewers continue listening to our random antics,
gibberish,
I think
this podcast is going to get renamed "Gresham Gets Excited" because this is the second one in a series where we've gone. Last week it was Warhammer. This time it's RIAT. You getting excited and me taking the piss out of you.
Although, I was going to say, but I've had a look at what's coming next. I don't think I'll be particularly excited, but we'll see.
Well, swap roll's good.
Yeah. So this time it'll be me being the unexcited one, and them two being very excited about the content.
Equality.
That is
Equality
true.
is key on his podcast.
Yes, it is. It is indeed.
I think that's a good place to.
Let's call it a do.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for stopping by to our latest episode. Got my list of stuff to get through. So, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube. Please fill in the poll below and or add a comment to our YouTube channel. Engagement is key to help grow the podcast. And I believe I'm now handing over to James.
Yes. Next up, unlike the silent supersonic jet, can Gresham break ground on his garden?
Probably not.
And will Luke ever find the longest plane?
One day.
Find out next time.
Peace.
Yeah.